Hey everyone, welcome to today's Feathr webinar, that's
No.
catchy. We're joined by Zack Doherty from Quiller AI. Welcome, Zack.
So thank you. This is our second time doing a webinar with you, and really excited to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, same. I'm excited because today I know a lot of the people on here probably didn't attend the first one, so we're going to cover some of the same content that we did, just going through some of the sort of qualms and objections people might have to getting started with AI in case you might find it sort of daunting or don't know where to begin. We'll go through some of that, but we're going to get into some really specific sample prompts and examples that you can take away and start applying. And then we'll have an interactive portion at the end to kind of get you applying the things that we've talked about on here and sharing some answers in the chat. So I'm hoping that will be a helpful little exercise. So while we let people start to join, I know we have a lot of people on here already, but go ahead and drop in the chat where you're joining from. Just kind of get the chat popping off.
Yeah, this is going to be an interactive session, so I definitely need y'all's participation.
Yep. Okay.
It's in
All
New
of
York.
things.
There we go.
Argentina, Carolina, welcome. My mom is from Argentina. I was just there a couple months ago.
¿De cuál ciudad en Argentina?
Yo de Buenos Aires. Where
Oh,
are you
amazing.
from, Carolina? That's
I just
exciting.
visited Argentina last December, so December of 23, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. I spend as much time there as I can.
Uh,
It's just like one of those countries that spans so much geographic space that you can do so many different things like within Argentina. There's mountains, waterfalls, glaciers, everything, desert.
it is
Uh,
beautiful.
cool. Yeah, we've got lots of people. We've got some
Central Africa.
pieces.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Okay, nice. Baltimore, Maryland. We were just talking about Maryland area, DC area before everyone joined because that's where Zach is right now.
And then actually, for Samantha. I'm moving to Los Angeles, so just a very global crew here.
Yeah, love it. More global than I feel like we usually get. So this is cool. Lots of Canadians. Welcome. Cool. All right. Well, I think let's see how many people are on. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a few more people trickle in, but I think we can go ahead and get started because we have a lot to cover today. So if you want to
Yeah, also thank you so much. And thank you to Isa and everyone who helped set this up, to the Feather team for having us, and for all of you for joining today. Just really excited to dive in because I know AI. I'm sure, I'm sure all of you keep hearing about all the buzz, and trying to make sense of where it fits into your nonprofit work and social impact work. And so, really, just want to help demystify some of that, make it more accessible, and actually give you some hands-on experience, like play around with it yourself. So this will be a very interactive session.
Zach, real quick before you get into it, I'm going to actually launch a poll.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is to see who wants us to sign you up for the Good Marketing Brief. So this is our weekly newsletter. It goes out every Wednesday morning, and it's full of nonprofit resources, templates, guides, practical tools, and things like that. So, okay, cool. Lots of people already subscribed, and lots of people saying yes, love it. So yeah, we will go ahead and sign you up if you drop a yes here, so you don't even have to click anything, and you will start getting these in your email inbox on Wednesday mornings at 8:15 a.m. Eastern time. So since everyone's all over the place, it'll be different times for you. But yeah, okay, awesome.
And I'm actually, it won't let me vote as a host or panelist, but I'm already subscribed as well and can attest to the fact it's a great newsletter.
Yeah, yeah, I think people find it really useful. And so obviously we promote some Feather resources and webinars and things like this one, but then lots of other resources from other organizations and platforms that are helpful. So industry news, all that good stuff. So, okay, cool. Keep dropping answers in, but I will pass it back off to you, Zach.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, just a quick snapshot of all the things we're going to go over. So again, I know there's still a lot of like questions, skepticism, hesitancy around AI. So I kind of just want to start out with its value that it offers. Then get specifically into prompting, some ways to approach that, like how to talk to AI, some frameworks for thinking about prompts, where you as the human comes in, and how this is not going to replace you or take your job. This is very much meant to just enhance your work. With that, recognizing the bias and some of the risks that come with AI, so still wanting to be good stewards of that and using it responsibly and with accountability. Next, we'll do a case study or look at a case study that we did as part of the Quiller team with a nonprofit, just to kind of um, show you what success can look like for your organizations. And then finish up with a practical application where you'll actually apply some of these lessons to your specific organizations, and would love to get some engagement in the chat there for that. And then close out with Q&A. And so I'll try to, definitely feel free to drop questions in the chat at any point. Issa's going to help me monitor that. I do want to focus, there'll be like kind of two practical application sessions. And so I want to focus on that because I think just getting the hands-on experience is really important. So I do want to move through the conversational topics fairly quicker. And so just first to kind of couch our work and what we do. So I'm Zack Doherty. I'm the chief of staff at Quiller. We are a generative AI tool for nonprofits and campaigns, and launched in 2023. Actually just came up on our second birthday. And so it's been really exciting and cool to kind of see as, AI tools have become more mainstream. We saw that there was just this opportunity and lack of space for things that were catered to social impact and progressive leaning missions and causes and values. And so wanting to build a bespoke tool that could meet the needs of those organizations, that could both, from like the business side, help meet the demands that we're seeing, but then also do it in a way that served our communities, upheld our values, was done responsibly, and was just more catered to those mission sets and some of those considerations and factors that go into that. Since our launch in 2023, we've supported over 100 different nonprofits and campaigns, which has been really exciting. And just the way that that's evolved over even just the last like 6 to 9 months has been really incredible. Feel free to drop in the chat. If any of you were at the Nonprofit Tech Conference in Baltimore, Maryland, I was really impressed to see, from some of like the earlier calls that I was doing where people were like very skeptical about AI. The sentiment that I felt was that, people were much more open to it and like trying to understand how it fit into their organization. And so again, I think even just your involvement and being here and showing up for this conversation is a testament to that. And so really excited to like get into the specifics of how we can do it more intentionally. One of the things that we do or offer through Quiller is these built-in customizations and prompt templates to kind of help users think through, hey, what is it that needs to go in a strong fundraising email? Or how do I get more persuasive content in my digital campaign? This webinar is not Quiller specific, and we won't be using Quiller, but this is just kind of the way that we understood the problem in the space and the way that we approach the solution. And so excited to share some of those learnings with you.
And obviously, we could not resist partnering with Quiller because our logos are so similar.
I mean, look at this. Our mascot's name is Quilly. Like, how could you resist this guy?
Yeah,
Like, and
no.
then when we saw
Blue
Feathr,
feathers,
it
very
was
cute.
there. We'll have to do some matchmaking to set them up.
For sure.
So your first kind of interactive part. This is the part where I encourage you to take out your phones. So scan the barcode here, and there'll just be 3 quick questions where you stand on AI, and just to kind of pulse check people's different familiarity levels, what they're curious about, what they're nervous about, and would love to kind of get a sense for this group. And Issa's going to help monitor that. So we'll give it a minute, try to get through that, and then see where people stand. Oh, is it not? It should be. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Did it not launch?
Oh no, I think I messed up and didn't make it public. That's totally on
Oh
me.
no. I can
You should have the permissions to
let
do
me
it.
see.
Sorry.
Uh,
Always, you know what? I
it's
thought I did it so
published.
good. There's always one like technical hiccup.
Yeah, if you can do it, because I'm actually not seeing very quickly. It's published, but maybe not public.
Yeah, totally. Here, let me published. Accepting responses, manage,
Thanks, guys,
responder
for bearing
view.
with. I think it's valuable to get this information just so that you all can see like how everyone else in the group is feeling, but also for us to just know like what other types of content, what areas to kind of zoom in on in future webinars, because I'm sure there will be some trends here.
Right. Should be fixed. Always one.
Okay, well, I'm seeing stuff coming in.
Cool,
We've
cool.
got
Thank
one.
you. Thank you guys.
Okay. They're coming in a little slowly, but yeah, I'll actually share my screen if you don't mind, Zach, and go
Oh,
ahead and
cool.
just show the results that are coming in. That might be an easier way for people to see. Mm. Okay, can you all
Oh,
see
cool.
my tab? Yeah.
Get some live.
Cool. Yeah, so we've got 60 so far, 64, jumping quickly. But yeah, it looks like this is probably what I would have expected. I don't know about you, Zach, but somewhat familiar, loosely considered it, but don't necessarily know where to start. Maybe you've dabbled in it a little bit, but um, and okay, looks like a lot of people are using it regularly. Um, okay, a couple skeptics. Hopefully we can quell some of your fears today, or you can share, what those specific fears are, or barriers maybe. I know sometimes something we talked about before is that a lot of the time there's internal sort of tension around using AI. Like maybe one of the marketers wants to use it, but then they're getting sort of pushback from board members or someone else on the team saying that, there's reasons why they shouldn't use it. And I think it can be a really valuable tool for making your work more efficient. So hopefully we can give you some justifications for using it if you want to. Um, but yeah, feel free to comment on this as well, Zach.
Yeah, yeah. So my first instinct, I mean, I think this is just such a great sample. I mean, if we already look at the number of responses, I'm actually, again, I think um the willingness that we're seeing at least just to try it and the people that are very comfortable, I think that is the growing trend. So really, and for, still a sizable enough portion who want to learn more. One of you has, super legitimate concerns, and I'm always happy to address those. They're always valid. So I think this is a great place to start. Um, in terms of like use cases, generating content is where we're going to focus today. I think like next level plays, as you're like getting like more advanced AI is when like personalization comes in, automation, data analysis, um, exploring possibilities. I think that's really important. And you'll have my contact info at the end. I have like a bunch of resources for like ways to figure out finding like the right AI tools for you and for your use case. So please reach out to me for that. And then if we go to the last question, accuracy and reliability, very valid. AI does hallucinate, so we'll get and like there's a lot of bias. That was a big one. Privacy and security, definitely want to be concerned of that. Losing the human touch, we'll get into that for sure. Lack of internal expertise. Hopefully we will mitigate that. And this is very much, learn by doing. It is much, again, the fear around it is valid, but it's one of those things once you try it, you're like, oh, it's not that scary.
It's very like, yeah, I think it's very user friendly and intuitive. It's kind of like you're just brainstorming and prompting and talking to somebody who's like generating ideas and content for you. And so once you sort of just get into the flow of it, it's actually a really fun process and you can get creative with it. So
And then the last one, I wanted to acknowledge and thank you for this, the environmental impact. That certainly does exist. What short blurb on that is what we've seen is a lot of that impact comes from like the data centers that are built to run these models and train these models. The actual sending of like asking ChatGPT a question does not have it's I think the equivalent of burning like or boiling like less like I don't know like 0.0015 ounce of water or something. That's not to, that becomes a collective action problem and a, chicken or the egg. Like well, we're creating the demand for it, and to what extent are we morally responsible for that? So I'm not dismissing those at all. But again, the environmental questions are real. And I think particularly as we've seen with like claims around like DeepSeek and as these models continue to grow more efficient, hopefully those will be mitigated in the near future. And that is a great question, Faith. I'm happy to I'll happy to follow up with you about like Quiller specific stuff after, but I want to make sure we cover like how to use AI for the newcomers and the new users. Um,
All right, you can go back to sharing your screen.
Great. But I would love to get into how we defend Quiller's business mode. Um, Great. So thank you all for that. Again, I think that's important just to kind of like level, show the group like where people are with AI and understand the various perspectives, use cases, like the breadth of this. And I think a lot of that will feed into the discussion about like where AI might fit into your organization. I want to make sure we get through all the material, so I'll keep this one pretty quick. For just really acknowledge all the challenges that you all in are facing and the important work that you do. Politically, we know what's happening, and there's been a lot of cuts to federal funding, um, more demand for your services, and a lot of external pressure in around some of the things that you all provide. And then even not, and then having to meet that while you face a lot of internal challenges where I think recent reports have shown increased burnout, lower morale, more digital fatigue from a lot of your donors or the people that you work with and speak with, and just in general, declines in fundraising and donations. And so these are very real. And you all are the ones on the front lines, like putting in this work every day. And so thank you for what you do. And the way that we see AI fitting into this is, again, it is something that's meant to enhance your work and free up a lot of your time and capacity in order to meet a lot of these demands and the pressures that you face. And so, specifically, if there's nothing else you take away from this session, these are the three main points that I really want to focus on. First is that thorough prompts will lead to better results. If any of you have used ChatGPT, or even if I'm sure everyone here has Googled something, the the more general your question is, just the worse the output is going to be. And so, wanting to make sure that you're getting as specific as possible is going to get you a better output. Second is understanding that your prompts are starting points and that this is an iterative process. It's something that you will refine. There are ways to like build out AI workspaces to kind of like intuitively understand your organization and tone of voice kind of from the get-go. But we always encourage a human in the loop, and this again should not be replacing you. This is just meant to enhance you. And then lastly, your brand voice is what guides AI. So one big critique of these models is that because everyone's using them, that they can sound very generic or that you're losing your distinctiveness or your brand identity. And what you can do to combat that and that, will preserve your organization and make you distinct is really infusing that with like your special sauce and your values. And I think that that's something that, again, as your audiences will pick up on and resonate with. And so, your ability to communicate with them more and stay up to date on current events and having like a very strong sense of mission and purpose is what's going to like really help your content come through. So those are the main takeaways from this session.
Quick note, quick tip that I found helpful when I use AI to generate content. Sometimes I'll, like prompt it, iterate on it a little bit in the AI platform, but then pull it into a doc and continue kind of editing from there. And sometimes I'll actually take the final version, or if I like collaborate with teammates and get input, and then the final version there is different, I'll feed that back into the platform and say, this is what I ended up using. Like, this is what I wanted it to sound like. And that kind of trains it as well to really adhere better to understand your brand voice, how you kind of want things to sound, and it will learn from that. So quick just tip there that I found works well.
Thank you. Great advice. Um, so now, hopefully, it sounded like most people on this call were pretty on board with AI, which is great. So I hope, I don't think this for a lot of you, it will take too much convincing. For those of you that do, again, have very legitimate questions or concerns. Um, there, and this is a choice that your organization has to make, is what is the opportunity cost of weighing the gains and things that I stand to benefit from a tool like AI versus some of these questions and challenges that it might raise. To make the case for why you should be considering it. First, just help save you time. I think if again any of you have used ChatGPT, just being able to draft something in seconds as opposed to spending hours writing a given piece of content frees you up to do so many more things in the day. Um, with that, I really want to double down on this point, is extending your team's impact. And so this is kind of one of the less obvious and indirect benefits of AI, but I think is hugely important. So, we found, so Quiller, we specialize in content generation. We found that on average, it saves users 60 to 90 minutes per draft. And so some people be like, okay, that's great, but I could have written it myself. What that doesn't show is that the time that people are getting back when they're not just writing fundraising emails, is time that they're actually connecting with their donors. They're doing organizing, they're phone banking, they're running community engagements, and that's what's really as people, that's what's going to be compelling and like bring people together, bring people help increase buy-in into your organization, your mission, make people feel more connected to the work that you're doing. And so this is really about automating the things that are like routine and necessary and kind of like drudgery. Whereas like the things that really take, more commitment and resources and heart, like that's where you can really shine. And so the efficiency gain here is that it will help you increase things like fundraising and engagement by giving you more time to invest in that, as opposed to the opportunity cost of, spending all day in front of a computer. Um, Third, I'll combine these two, third and fourth. It helps you like generate things faster, and you can personalize it and customize it much quicker. So, if you need help brainstorming like a new angle for your newsletter, that's kind of one angle. You're able to specify like who the target audience is, or like what tone you want to take, or how long you want a piece of content to be. So you can just have much more optionality. Um, Five, you're able to test and improve that really easily. So, it again, with that optionality, allows you to like really target and A/B test your CRMs and your client list to see, oh, if I'm doing a fundraising email and I want to take a really like dire, scary approach, the world is ending and we need to act now, versus a more like hopeful, uplifting approach, and framing it that way. This is a really great way to do that, to get, two pieces of content that are fairly similar but different in that respect, and then see which one performs better. And then lastly, just being able to operate multi-channel. So, taking a fundraising email, turning it into an SMS text, into an op-ed, into a LinkedIn or Twitter post, just lets you like expand your brand across multiple platforms. So now, what is an AI prompt? So a prompt is just the instruction that you give to get an output from AI. So really, just think of it like a Google search. Every time you do a Google search and you ask, something, this is fairly similar. In this case, though, it might not be a question. It could be an instruction, say, like build me an email, or write me a marketing campaign, or help me think of a digital advertisement. Um, for the first key on this is the outputs are only going to be as good as the inputs. I'm going to get in a little bit. I'm going to get into what a good input looks like. As smart as AI is, it's also really dumb. And so, we like to think of it as like not to insult interns, but, like a young intern who just needs a little bit of extra handholding and coaching to kind of get to where they need to be. But, making sure that you recognize that the more you put in on the front end, the better the output is going to be. Um, Relatedly, AI doesn't have all the context that you have. It's only going to operate off of the instructions that you're giving it. And so again, that's why it's important to really focus on that input. And then, particularly, recognizing again for nonprofits that the mission, the tone, and the context really requires us to be thoughtful about the values that we're infusing into our message, and making sure that things are still framed in a way that's going to resonate best with our audiences. So now these are just some different considerations for how to think about approaching AI. I already talked about the, kind of the intern mindset or the junior team member. Next, like I said, preserving the values of your organization. There's really um, strong opportunities just to add your brand cues and examples. With Quiller specifically, we've actually like built that into the platform itself, where you're able to provide writing style training um, on like your previous email copy, so that it like intuitively understands your organization's tone and voice. With more general tools like GPT or Claude, you're able to provide those instructions or use samples as a reference. And that'll again kind of help so that the so the output stays consistent with things that you've used in the past. Um, Again, being mindful that it's going to take testing, refining, iteration. That's part of the process. And you might get um, your first output, and you're like, this is like okay, or it's generic, but I want it to do this, this, this. And you just ask it for the next version, and then it's able to get that out and hopefully get you a little closer to where you want to be. And then lastly, always review and fact check. AI hallucinating is very real. Again, it should still involve a human in the loop approach. And I'd say it takes a kind of a shift in mindset of, I think as copy editors, we're very used to like checking for spelling and grammar. Um, and whereas, I think we're more familiar with like the heart and core message of the content. Whereas now AI is going to be flawless in its spelling and grammar, but when you get an output from ChatGPT, you're like, this sounds kind of like robotic or unnatural, or I wouldn't say something that way. Let me really like dig into an example or something that like gives this heart and feeling. So, I want to, these are some there's multiple frameworks for how to think about AI prompts. These are kind of the three that I've found the most helpful. And I think it just depends on personal preference, really. Um, and that when we do the prac app, we're going to drop an image of this that you can refer back to. The first is kind of just taking like a building blocks approach. I think this is the most basic. So, what's the goal that you're trying to achieve in a message? What format is it? So is it, email, SMS, an op-ed, a press release, etc. Who's the audience that you're speaking to? So who's the ideal uh, receiver of this information? And if there's multiple, you can specify that or customize the message for different audiences. And then lastly, what is the voice? How do you want it to sound? So when you're coming up with your prompt, if something like so the way this would look is write me a fundraising email to raise $1 million. That covers the first two. For uh, people who suffer from Alzheimer's or loved ones of family members who suffer from Alzheimer's in a very supportive and uplifting tone. Very quick example of like how that being a prompt that you could use taking this approach. Similarly, you have the RISN framework. So RISN being an acronym for role, input, situation, expectations, and next steps. This one, a little more thinking up front, but I do think the outputs tend to be a little stronger because again, it's going to take you very literally and at face value. And so the more detail that you're giving it, the better the output is going to be. So defining what perspective you want the AI to take. You are a nonprofit marketer for XYZ organization. Um, what input, so what the context or background for the source material is, if there's like statistics or facts, what the situation is, so what's driving the ask, for say a fundraising email, what the expectations are, and then what the next steps or what like the call to action might be. So I think that's a really great framework. And then the third is more, this one's a little more like creative and free flowing. There's no real, these are just three examples. I didn't want to be like too prescriptive here, but, I think again, if you've played with ChatGPT, you can kind of just ask it for like, um, general ways to help you create content. And I think what AI can be very good at is like being a brainstorming partner, in the same way that you might work with a colleague who can help you write an email. I would think about it that way, where they're just gonna like give you feedback or help you iterate off of something to give you just an outside perspective on how you were thinking about things. So, you could ask it to write three different versions of an email. You could ask it for something that's like very attention grabbing. You could ask it to do something in a surprising or emotional way. So just like adds a little more nuance and flavor. And again, there's no particular formula for this. I think it's at your discretion as to like how you want to revamp your messaging and style, just to again find new ways to be engaging with people. And so now I'll take a quick break from talking so much. I would love for you all to give this a try. Um, Issa did a great job. She helped me come up with a scenario. Um, and what I would love is for people to open a free or pay. If you already have a paid subscription, that's fine. But there's enough free tools, such as ChatGPT or Claude, if you're comfortable, and just trying to uh, on the second side of this, on the right hand side of this slide, addressing some of those prompts. So just very quickly, you direct marketing for a regional art museum, and you're launching a summer membership to drive families to promote your kid-friendly exhibits and summer programs. Your goal is to increase family memberships. The channel is through retargeting ads and email follow-ups. Your target audience is mostly mothers in their 30s to 40s. And generally, for this type of series, you want to come off as welcoming, smart, and fun. And so, feel free to, before you even drop anything in the chat or before you go to AI, just drop in the chat, like, how would you think about using AI for any of those three examples? And you can think about it from the perspective of which framework might you apply, or how would you try to differentiate yourself, or, what would a campaign look like? Would it be one email a week? Several over the course of specific programs that you're launching? Would love just to kind of hear how some of you might think about that.
And I'm guessing we probably have some regional art museums in the audience, so putting yourself in those shoes might be easier for some than others. But yeah, we'd love to just hear how you'd think to approach a campaign like this before putting it into an AI tool, just to kind of get some ideas about how people think about campaigns, cadence of sending emails, maybe some CTA ideas, things like that. So if there's any ideas, feel free to drop them in the chat. Make this summer a masterpiece. Join the museum where kids can touch
Oh,
the
I
art.
like that.
Love that. I will say I love children's museums. Like I don't know if this is a children's museum or if this is just a like tactile art museum, but I've been to a couple children's museums and they're just like fascinating. They're really fun and I'm like, this is kind of for adults too.
I just went to the Exploratorium in SF. If anyone's in the Bay Area or goes, that highly, highly recommend it. I've gone like scheduled 2 hours for it and end up staying like not ever making it through everything. It's like such a good museum. And
Uh,
it's like for children, but like feels like it should be for adults.
yeah, we're all children at heart.
Yeah.
Step up, moms and dads. Okay, yeah, addressing the audience directly there. This summer is a big top of art, laughs and finger paints. Cute. Join the family fun under the museum tent where every kid's a creative ringmaster. Cool. Yeah.
Nice. And that one brought in emojis, as more succinct version of that. These are great.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think again, just does your summer just got a little cooler. There we go.
Cute. I love that, Sarah.
Oh, the sarcastic because
Yeah.
isn't it? So I think these are great examples of where there's so many different um approaches to take. And again, I think a lot of times as marketers, we're guessing at like what the next best way to approach people is going to be. I think even just getting outside of our own practices and just like hearing another perspective and testing it too. I think what this allows you to do, like you even just with these four examples, you could immediately run a targeted A/B test on like which of these is going to work, have the highest click-through or open rates, and allows you to be more methodical in your outreach. Um,
We've got a Martian version in the chat. Also, I just want to point out, like part of this slide is just to show you guys like how easy it is to get started, right? It's like you just put in some really basic information, almost like your elevator pitch. Like if somebody asks you, what does your organization do? Who do you serve? Something like that. You kind of put that information in and then give the AI tool some goals like are listed here, right? Like what are you actually trying to get the AI tool to do for you? But then it's really like the world is your oyster in terms of all of these options. So in the second column here, we're like, how could you use AI to write an ad headline copy for a retargeting campaign for people who visited your homepage, right? You can get very specific subject lines, ad copy, an entire email. You can ask it for tips on how to format the email in like a new creative way. Like where should I put the images versus the text? Like what could I include in an email header, you know? So you can ask it all kinds of questions, not just for like content generation, but strategy and ideas around how to present the content. Um, so yeah, there's a lot you can do, and it really is easy to just like get started, and you know your mission better than anyone, and so you can feed that and then iterate from there. But um, yeah, it is a lot more accessible than you might think if you are in that group of people who are like, I don't know where to get started, or it sounds like daunting or difficult. Like it's easier than you think.
I think that's such a great point, and especially around the like, the content generation is just one element, but there's a strategy to it, right? And so like, what should a summer email campaign look like, or help me build a drip marketing campaign for people that register at this link. Like AI, it just is a great thought partner. And again, this is not to like replace strategic decision makers on your teams. Like this is just to help you get like some ideas and like some of them will be crap, candidly. But those that are stronger, that like do really help move the needle, I think are like great starting points for just being able to like iterate and get stuff out the door and allow you to be more effective.
And you can quickly generate 10 versions of a subject line, 10 versions of an ad headline, you know, and then kind of go through them. And you might not use any of them, but it kind of gets your wheels spinning and gives you some new ideas to pick from. So
Totally. All right, cool. We want another prac app at the end, so I'm just going to keep pushing for now. Um, So recognizing AI bias. So I think this is important in general, and then especially I think for nonprofits and social impact organizations. So not to get too deep onto the technical side, but so AI operates off of training data. So you feed these models information and data that they're going to pull from, and from that they extrapolate. They're using these predictive analytics to assume like what the next output should be. And so the output is gonna partially match what you are prompting it to ask, but then ultimate what's driving that on the back end is like the data that it's been trained on. And so if that data has biases or over indexes on certain information, there is a very legitimate risk of amplifying stereotypes, excluding historically marginalized groups or people or causes, framing things in a harmful context. Um, I think one common critique of like the mainstream models is that they're trained predominantly on like English content, and so some like the messaging might not be as strong for like translated content or things in other languages. As just one example. So just some again, want to recognize that is legitimate, and just some quick mitigation strategies. Again, AI shouldn't be like a fire and forget, like you've just offloaded your all thought onto it. You should always then review it and put on your DEI cap, to make sure that it is aligned and that you're considering all the particular audiences that could be affected. Having an inclusive style guide for consistency. So making sure, like, if you want templates to refer back to, or, a checklist that can kind of keep you accountable, I think that's one great way to kind of mitigate some of these risks. Asking for feedback, I think is always key. So, if you're ever unsure, making sure that you're talking to stakeholders or people that might be affected by these things. And again, just understanding this is an iterative process. This shouldn't be like the final answer to your content needs. And we already, we touched on this, I think, a couple times. Again, AI is a tool, not a replacement. I think really using it or thinking about it to like reduce redundancies so that you can get back to focusing on mission critical things. As like a quick practical aside, like, AI isn't going to have the the local touch points that you have with people. And so, and even some tools are better at like current events, others a little less so, and there's like cutoff, but there's still the risk of hallucination. But like if you can put in, if you can include like a personal story from someone that you spoke to, I think that's like a really great way to like infuse your own personal perspective and the human element into AI. And again, while like preserving your organization's voice and values. So there are ways, I think, to humanize it and again to keep it from being generic. People can tell, I think, when something is like purely AI written. Like, I actually personally love the EM dash, but I hate that now, like, if you see the EM dash, you just assume that ChatGPT has written it, which is like it's true, but it's just a great syntax.
Yeah, my sister and I were talking about this the other day because we both love using M dashes. We always have used them in our writing, and now it's like, oh, I can't use that even though
Yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
and like ChatGPT uses it like way too much, so I'm like, okay, we gotta skip this.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, I think people can tell and like they might tune out if something feels generic or manufactured. And so again, you could even add like sometimes if I use GPT, I'll even ask like make this sound more like natural or friendly or human, and it actually does get that pretty quickly. So but you should always be reviewing it. Quick case study. So again, this one's Quiller specific, but just want to show kind of what success can look like, because AI in general is so new, and particularly for nonprofits, I think there's just not a lot of data around use cases yet, and so just wanted to highlight like one particular win that we've had. So we did from I believe it was May through June, a case study with the Center for Common Ground, which is an organization that works to address racial prejudice and injustice, particularly in Black and African American communities in the South. And so what we found was we started out with like what their baseline engagement and time saving was, and then compared that to after using Quiller. Um, we found that they were able to increase clicks for their like web page signups to 16 when they historically for the last several months have been getting none. So it speaks to just the quality of the content and the output. On average, they saved 30 to 45 minutes per draft. And I think that was factoring in like time needed to edit. I think raw just writing time can be upwards of 90 minutes we found, but again, as you kind of have the back and forth, natural that it'll be more in the 30 to 45 range. And then lastly, we found that it outperformed industry standards for open and click-through rates. So again, just really, this is just one example, and there's more case studies forthcoming. This is our first nonprofit case study. A lot of ours have been with political campaigns and organizations. But this is just one example of what, again, um, uh, uh, client or user who had no particular bias and was just kind of testing us out, and did see wins from trying out an AI tool. So I think the same lessons could be applied to your organizations. And so now, okay, good. We're at we'll give this 10 minutes and then we'll leave at least 5 minutes for Q&A. Or Issa, sorry, did you have something?
Yeah, real quick. I want to launch another poll real quick just because I know people might start hopping off, in the next few minutes. So I want to catch everyone. So we haven't talked a lot about Feathr today, but Feathr is the digital marketing platform for nonprofits. So we help you streamline touch points across channels. So a lot of what we talked about today, where you're, prompting AI to create ads and email subject lines and all kinds of content, you can run those ads and run those email campaigns in Feathr. And we recently changed our pricing model to be a little more inclusive to offer more affordable options for organizations of all sizes. So I just want to launch a poll to see who's interested in learning a little bit more about Quiller AI and about Feathr. So you can use both tools to create some cool content and run ad campaigns. across channels and track everything in one place. Um, and yeah, Feather also just helps you understand your audience better, getting insight. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, let me end the poll. I launched just the Feather one, but we got some responses. Cool. Let me launch the one that has both. We've got a lot of polls in here. So, okay. Please respond to that one. So there you can learn about both Quiller AI and Feather or either one. Cool. Thanks, guys. Pardon all the technical errors today. But yeah, so just like kind of, getting more insight on your audience, seeing how your ad campaigns are performing, seeing how, the CTA on one ad performs compared to another one, and it gives you insight into what your audience really responds to, and what's working and what's not. So
And
yeah.
I think there's having a tool like or tools like Quiller and Fed like that are complementary where on the one hand you have the um data and like insights that are informing your decisions about in like seeing the real-time feedback, and then a tool like Quiller which lets you actually like create content and iterate off of that data.
Yeah.
And I think the world that um the way this is going or looking in the future is that you're going to see um a collaboration of those two types of tools where that's going to become packaged all in one and just like help you with like your content and data needs, so that all of it's like integrated and seamless. And so that, again, I think the way this is looking is, these tools are just going to become more powerful and more data driven. And so the more that you can like play around with them now and like become familiar and comfortable, the better set up you'll be to like um capitalize on that and then also really serve your communities and drive impact.
Yeah, that's a really important point. I think that actually really like nicely addresses some of the concerns I saw earlier about it takes more time sometimes to work with AI. It can only take changes so far and it actually is a waste of time. I totally feel you guys on that. It can feel like that sometimes, but like Zach just said, AI is going to become more and more integrated into a lot of the other tools you're using. So just having a finger on the pulse and like knowing how to use it, how to work with it is helpful. And then I saw someone, Bonnie said, I've helped several nonprofit folks save a full 2 days per week using AI. So everyone has different experiences, but I really do think it can be a time saver if you learn how to use it the right way for you and for your organization. So,
Totally. And
um,
I and
yeah,
my the only other, and again this it's a totally I've had so many back and forths with, I'm like, why doesn't this AI understand what I'm asking it to do? It I think it's really a volume game, and so it's like, can you write this email and can you like get it in your voice on a first, like, absolutely, no one, you guys are professionals at this, no one's going to dispute or challenge that. Can you do that now for like 10 emails a week and like do and like create multiple versions of that and like test those? Like, how long does that end up taking? And I would like, I think the feeling of time savings isn't going to come from like an individual use kit, but like, having an even just like taking an email and saying, okay, now frame this into a social media post, frame this into a text, frame this into a blog post. And like you can literally just hit click and it does that in seconds. And that's like I don't think anyone can really refute like, oh wow, that did just sit like I would have had to start from scratch, and now like I've saved a ton of time there. So it's more about the volume than like it gonna perfectly understand like your tone and the human part. Okay, in the last 5 minutes, so I wanted to really make this specific to you all because I think this is where you can really realize the value rather than just me talking about it. And so, Isa, if you can drop some of the that picture of the frameworks in the chat, if
yeah,
it might not let you, it gave me trouble doing that, but
yeah. Let me try.
um, again, if I would encourage, in these last 5 minutes, and while some of you are doing that, if others want to drop questions in the chat, I can respond to those, but would love if you could think about any upcoming communications you may have. So again, a fundraising email, if you have a summer campaign or a back to school campaign, which is sad that we're thinking about that, but we're there. Um, anything that you feel is like relevant for your organizations right now. Um, Open your preferred AI tools. So, and these are free. They offer free versions. Um, if you're comfortable, take some of the things that we've talked about in considerations, and then just ask it to help you draft this message. So it could be as simple as a subject line, a text message. You could ask it for a full email. You could ask it for to help you build out a fundraising series around a particular event or like leading up to an event. What is you know 1 month out look like, 2 weeks out look like, the week of. And then share what worked and what didn't. Again, I think learning from each other is really critical here. And then if you feel stuck, I wanted to share, we had done a training with one of our nonprofit clients where we went through kind of recent content they had published and just came up with a list of like 25 prompts they could use to kind of like get the juices flowing. You're more than welcome to download that and use that for your, the questions will be specific to, it was every town for gun safety. Um, but I
It
think
looks
just
like
again to kind of get a sense of prompts.
it might not be public, Zach. We had a
Oh,
couple
did it
people.
again? God, oh my God. All right, let me stop sharing and then I'll.
Okay.
I swear to God I'd done that, but I guess not.
Yeah, no worries. I also cannot upload an image from my computer. I can only upload it from every other place into the chat. So I won't be able to drop the image in of the framework, but we could also just share that slide again. That might be helpful for people to have up instead of
So-
let me do that.
All right, that is now available. Again, I apologize. I'm just struggling with Google today.
Um, did we drop it in the chat yet? No. If you want to drop it in the chat, just so people can click on it from there, might
Yes.
be easier. And then we can go ahead and share. If you want to share your screen again, but maybe just share the framework slide. So
Oh
that
yeah, totally. Yeah.
you can look at that instead of this one, just to jog your memory if you're feeling stuck. But yeah, go ahead and drop in some ideas. Thanks, Kelly, for this one. Created a billboard message for young moms. Being a mom is hard, getting help shouldn't be. Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Worked on new signage. Oh, good question. I don't know, Zach, if you have any insight into getting a printable version of an AI generated creative.
Sorry, where is this question?
Sharon's question, it's the third from the bottom.
Say signage one. Couldn't give a printable version. I see. Was that on GPT? So you can ask it to, okay, yeah, you can say make it a Word doc and then it should do that for you. It can also make basic slide outlines. It can make it an Excel sheet. I would also say to please here, I'll drop my email in the chat right now, but it'll be at the end as well. We share um there's like a handful of resources that we've collected to make sense of the space, like find the right tools for you. So there's so many tools out that like ChatGPT is a great generalist, or Claude, but there's so many things out there that have these like very specific use cases, like for image generation or video generation or financial forecasting or data analysis. There's just so much out there. I have a list of resources that are specific to nonprofits as well as like frameworks for how nonprofits can like build an AI policy or should be thinking about this. So please, if you there's feel free to reach out to me and I'll send that to you. The other thing is if you we did the first webinar we did with Feathr was on AI ethics. Please check that out, and then that'll have those resources listed in there as well.
Yeah, I can include that one in the follow-up email as well, just so that you all can see both. I think that one was really helpful. It was a deeper dive into sort of the ethical questions around it and just generally getting started with AI. So I think they complement each other well. Okay, we're not getting a lot of participation. Yeah, let us know if you are um, trying any prompts right now. Feel free to drop them in. Don't be shy. Like, if you're asking it to create some ad headlines for an upcoming event you have or anything like that, just drop in examples that it's giving you that you like or would use. We just love to see the practical application. Hour of AI.us. What is this?
And happy, I know we're coming up on time. We covered a lot, so happy to answer any questions as well.
Yeah,
But I think the more you just, just trying it and getting comfortable and, it'll feel more familiar. I think it goes a long way.
for sure. Also, thanks, Harvey. I just opened this link that you shared. It has a lot of information on which AI platforms offer which types of
Oh, cool.
services or sort of like use cases for each platform. So, concept mapping and planning versus outlining and drafting, research, collaborative writing, coding, things like that. So, lots of different things you can do with AI, and there's lots of tools that are very sort of specific to some of those use cases where you'll
The
probably.
one that I will speak to too, this will be in that other present, is Higher Ground Labs, which is a political and social impact oriented incubator. They published an AI landscape report and like a tech landscape, a political landscape report of tools and vendors in the space. They have a really, really strong synthesis of like the overall ecosystem that maps out what the different tools are. So highly, again, I think that'll be included in like the follow-up, but highly recommend checking them out for like looking at how the space is segmented and broken up and like who's some of the different or what some of the different options are specific to social impact and nonprofit work.
Um,
Yeah, great. Higher Ground Labs and Landscape Report. And they publish great content in general. Just, recommend staying up to date on that.
okay, Sarah said I asked for ideas for testing a direct mail related to Passover. Some interesting ideas that I don't think would fly with our budget or audience, but good practice for being more iterative and patient. Um, cool. Yeah,
And
that's a huge part of the process is just learning how to take what you can and leave what you don't find useful, but iterating is key.
And Sarah, to that point, you could say, you could even, your response to that could be, hey, these look great. Unfortunately, they don't fit our budget. Help me think of some new options that are a little, within the X to X range, whatever that dollar amount is.
And
Uh,
like clarifying your audience,
hmm.
or whatever segment you're trying to reach to kind of get more specific there.
Trisha, that's a great point using it to summarize. Like, if you, I love now, I don't know if you guys do this for like Zoom or Google when you do that, like it can not only transcribe the notes, but summarize them and like take away the key follow up and next steps. I found that super powerful for, like I feel like so many times I get bogged down just like trying to type furiously. Um, that having something that can summarize and synthesize all that form or you can just if you have a lot of notes that in your like a folder you can just feed it all into one of these tools and it'll extract like the key points there. I think that's a really great use case for AI. Then again, it's could a human do this and like absolutely, but it takes time and you have to like go dig through these resources and find it, and, read your sloppy notes. Um, this does it a little more seamlessly and faster. And
Mm,
Kathleen, Issa just responded to your question
yeah.
here. Uh,
Um,
Here I'm gonna go because we're coming up on or we're at time. Like I said, oh, yeah. So if you want those resources, you can just fill out that uh, bit.ly link there. And then if you're interested in Quiller, I'm more than happy to tell you more about the platform. And just in general, again, I kind of because it's such a new space, really a lot of what we're focused on is just like making people comfortable, helping you with your missions, educating the market. And so I'm always happy to just answer questions that may come up. So please feel free to reach out to me about that. Um, and would love to thank Feathr again. You guys have been great partners. Thank you so much for hosting us and for offering this opportunity. And it's been really wonderful to speak with all of you today.
yeah, thanks so much for joining us again, Zach. Hope to have you again in the future. These webinars are always really packed full with, I think, really practical tips And I know this is a topic that there's a lot of appetite for, but a lot of hesitation around. So I think it's a really important one to sort of work on demystifying and give people the tools to make it feel more accessible. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. I know we still have a few, yeah, we've got some, glad it was helpful, everyone. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks, everyone. We'll call it here. Have a good one.
Thank you all.